language. So the state government introduced Nepali as a blanket second language for Kalimpong, Kurseong and Darjeeling subdivisions. Since then, a lot of water has flown down the Ganga and the other rivers. What we have today is an independent district of Kalimpong, carved out of Darjeeling. We have an independent district of Alipurduar, carved out of Jalpaiguri. And now we have 11 other languages that have joined the list of state languages. Incidentally, when Rajbangshi was included as a state language, that was the one which saw the fiercest debates. There was one group among the Rajbangshis itself who claimed that Rajbangshi is a dialect, and there was another group who claimed Rajbangshi is a language. And there was this language versus dialect debate that actually deferred the inclusion of Rajbangshi into the legislation for quite some time. These are things, as you know, as Sir was saying the other day, because the Kurus do not have a sufficient vote bank if it's a population of just 1,000. They fail to make a difference on the electoral stage. But because the Rajbangshis had a big role to play, not just within the state of Cooch Behar, but in the adjoining districts as well, the Rajbangshi language became a political issue. And it was only when the present incumbent government suffered electoral reverses in the parliamentary elections of 2019 in the Rajbangshi dominated areas that Rajbangshi was formally included as the state language within the purview of West Bengal Languages Act. Similarly, you might remember there was a Kurmi agitation in recent times. A lot of the trains in the Howrah Southeastern Railway subdivision was severely affected because of the Kurmi agitations. As part of a positive windfall of the Kurmi agitations, now I don't even know if it's a positive or a negative windfall, that is for posterity to judge. The state government immediately enacted, but whenever a language gets recognition, that's a positive for me. So the Kurmali language was spelled in English with the D and with the NAR interchangeably. The Kurmali language was given status of a second language within the West Bengal Languages Act through an amendment. So now we have Nepali, Oriya, Urdu, Punjabi, the Gurmukhi script, Santhali, both the Alchiki and the Bengali script, Rajbangshi, Kurmali, Kurmuk, which is another language that has been given the status of a second language from among the tribal languages spoken in the state, Kurmuk, Rajbangshi, Kamtapuri, the language of the people of Kamtapur, and Telugu. These are the 11 languages that have been given the status of state languages under the purview of the West Bengal Languages Act. And though we only have English to Bangla, Hindi, Urdu, Nepali, and Santhali translators within the government purview, depending on requirements and needs, on an as-is and various basis, there will be need for translators in these other languages as well. So that is the official purview of language translation within the government of West Bengal. You might recall, you people, most of you were very young then, but it was during the previous incumbent chief minister's tenure that an emphasis on Bangla was suddenly laid, that everything must be done in Bangla. And among the many pressure groups, among the many apolitical, now this is again something that my mother used to tell me, and I would like to point out to you, there is nothing apolitical. When you write in your college brochures, our students' union is apolitical, what you actually mean is our students' union is politically non-partisan. All of us are political. We have a political identity if we are living in a civilization. What we mistake for apolitical is being politically non-aligned. You may be political, you may not be aligned to a party or an ideology. So what we mean by apolitical is actually politically non-partisan. So there was one of these apolitical pressure groups called the Bhasha or Chetana Samiti, which went on a survey of Kolkata, on a recce of Kolkata, picking out shops which did not have signboards in Bangla. So on one fine day, you had some of the biggest literary names of Bengal descending in front of the Tipu Sultan Masjid at Dharamtala, going into K.C. Das, Hasnain, the Genki Chinese shoe shop, the Muhammad Ali tailors, Akbar Ali's, and giving the shop owners a 21-day deadline or ultimatum of making sure there is your signboard in Bangla, or we will make sure that your shutters are put permanently down. This created quite a flutter. There was a front page news in the Statesman about it, and then, in fact, you would see traces of that today in the K.C. Das shop. The very reason why K.C. Das switched from its earlier font and switched to the present signboard, where you have the name K.C. Das written in all the languages included in the 8th schedule of the Constitution then, is because of this threat that they had received 18 years ago. It is then that they had changed their signboard, and you have the K.C. Das logo in all these languages. Remember the earlier currency notes? You had the denomination written in all the languages of the 8th schedule. So, as you know, our Constitution has 12 schedules now, and the state languages are included in the 8th schedule. The current number is 22. What I forgot to mention among the 11 languages, apologies, is Bhojpuri in its official nomenclature, Maithili, has also been given a state language status here. That's the 11th language. And Bhojpuri as Maithili is also part of the 8th schedule in the 22 languages in the central government's list of official languages. It is also part of our 11 state languages list. So when we do anything on the state portal, which is called the Egiye Bangla, and there are application versions of it, and using modern technology, when you have a helpline and someone chooses Maithili, the person operating the call center at the control room at Navano or somewhere in Sunday, or the person who's admitting the chatbot would begin with a Ka Bhai. That is just like a hello or a hi if you're choosing Maithili as an option. So when you come to public dissemination of information, there are specific festival-oriented do's and don'ts that require to be published in specific languages. For example, one document that we bring out every year is regarding Bas Mein Adab E Zaba. Zaba here is Bangla te amra jake boli jobai kora, the act of sacrifice for Eid al-Azha. So Bas Mein Adab E Zaba is actually the regulations for slaughter and post-slaughter disposal of carcass, skins, etc. As you know, the state government has its own slaughterhouse or abattoir in the what used to be earlier the eastern fringes of the city. If you are traveling by the Bhojbhoj Noihati local and the area between the Park Circus station and the Sir Gurudas Banerjee Hall station, you would get a smell. For some it would be a smell, for some it would be a stench, but you would know you're passing the tanneries of Tamra and then you're passing the slaughterhouses. So when we have a special occasion like Eid al-Azha, when there is bulk slaughter taking place, disposal of the carcasses is a very serious issue, and there is a hygiene aspect to it, there is a social aspect to it. So when we are translating the regulations as given to us by the Supreme Court in its judgment, we will have to make sure that the legalese is filtered and cleansed and made more understandable for the common people when we translate it in Bangla and Urdu. Similarly, when we are doing regulations for the so-called green crackers, we all know green crackers is a myth. Anything you burn will yield carbon. But when we are bringing in regulations for firecrackers for Diwali and Chhath Puja, that will have to be translated in a way where the Supreme Court judgment is there word for word, but at the same time it is understandable for the general public. So what I am doing is, whenever I am serving you water, I'm also using a company as I would use for tea. So it's very important that I remember who my intended recipient is. When I'm translating a cabinet memorandum is a document which is presented at a cabinet meeting for discussion of ministers to take a new step or bringing a new rule. Say for example, if we were to decide today that online gaming is now under the purview of GST from 1st October. So for that, the Assembly will have to translate the proceedings from the GST Act amendment into the local languages for the dissemination of general public. Now the general public has nothing to do with the GST Act. All they need to know is how is it applicable to them. So when you're looking for news on the budget, the day after the union budget, you don't need the entire transcript of what the finance minister has read out. You have specific interests. Okay, has the income tax slab gone up? Has it gone down? What about mutual fund investments? So there are specific things that the public is interested in. So we'll have to pick and choose and bring out, as in Urdu we say, a khaka, a summary of what the entire document is about. And we will take the relevant sections that is applicable to the public in the local language available for them to be put out as ads in newspapers or in hoardings, because government instructions can be very misleading. I had a very funny and a very traumatic experience in childhood because of translations. In Calcutta, we must have seen this expression, commit no nuisance. For a long time, I used to think, because what it meant in Bangla, you have the Bangla written underneath. I used to identify someone being a nuisance with someone wetting his pants. Because that is how it was written. Commit no nuisance, ekhane proshab kora nishi. And you would see this across public places in Calcutta still. If you don't know the literal meaning of what it is. That is why there are times you don't need to translate literally, but you need to know the literal meaning of a word, because it might be used in different contexts, in different places. And that is why I raised that point before Professor Das, because when you're translating from Hindi to Bangla, you must remember there are certain words that travel, but travel in a different avatar. For example, when I'm saying Projatantro Divas for 26th January, what is the Hindi for the Republic Day? Ganatantra Divas. Now what is Ganatantra in Bangla? Democracy, not Republic. So when I'm saying Hindi, I'm saying Ganatantra Divas, because they have Loktantra for democracy. We don't use Loktantra for democracy, we use Ganatantra. And you may have seen, if you follow the news on the state media, which is the Doordarshan or the Akashvani, which is regulated by the Prasar Bharati, that dissemination of knowledge has taken a new role. How much do I have? Okay, so in recent times, we've looked at Projatantro as a very monarchical concept. When you're thinking of a Proja in terms of a Raja. So in recent times, we've shifted the coinage to Sadharan Tantra Divas. So in official parlance, Projatantro has now made way for Sadharan Tantra Divas. So since I'm about to end, I'd like to end on a more joyful note, because these are the grim realities. The way to apply for this job, there are translator posts advertised for the government of West Bengal, just as they are advertised through all the official channels. Public Service Commission. I sat for a PSC exam back in 2010. It's a 2-trial structure where you're tested for translation and then you're called for a personality test. It's a 2-trial system. Similarly, at the central government level, you also have translators, and you also have just play the one. Just play the song. Just as a digression, to end this conversation with something very playful for all of you. Where's the guy who is sitting here? Click. What is the one thing we are all looking for a translation of across the country as common people for the last 2.5 weeks? That's a literal translation. Does anyone here know Persian? Okay. So you can make out what the song is. Now the reason why this is in literal translation is, for the last 1 week, I've had to explain to 9 different people what the words of the song are and what they mean. You will have a figurative translation and you will have a literal translation. When you go line by line, you would realize it's not as alien to your ears as it would seem. Now, when you think of Jamal, Jamalu, Jamal Kudu, why does it say beautiful height? Kudu. उसका height कितना है? उसका कद कितना है? कद है 5 फुट 7 इंच. The word kad, the Hindustani, Hindi, Urdu kad comes from the Persian origin. Kudu. So that is height. What it figuratively means, your elevated beauty. Your beauty, your elevated beauty. The beauty of a higher order. Next. Keep it. Back to it. Now let's show you how what we consider alien is actually integral to us. It's not as difficult as it seems. Here we are, all of us in a translation workshop, seeing a language which 99% of us think we do not know, but how it's become an integral part of our upbringing. First, before the subtitle. Himal, Napur, Pun. Siyah is kalo. Siyahi is kali, ink. So Siyah is black. And Zangi, Zang, Jong Horegachi. What is Zangi? Rust. So it is black rust or black rusted. Hence the black rust. The reason why I put in the English literal translation here is that so you can identify the individual words there. So what I would ask you to do is, because you will have workshops in the future, when you all have your smartphones, go to esoteric tunes on YouTube. Go to esoteric tunes on YouTube and check this page out. The Farsi has been done by my Urdu colleague Homa Firdausi's father Muhammad Yaqub, and I deliberately put in the literal English translation here for you to understand what the individual words are. Thank you very much for your patience. हम आप सबका आभार प्रकट करते हैं, हम आप सबके मशहूर हैं, हमें आपने सबाई के धन्यवाद জানাই। थैंक यू।
Thank you so much, sir. It was indeed a wonderful session. Now I would like to make an important announcement that please everyone make sure to sign the attendance sheet, because unless you have 100% attendance, you won't get the certificates. Now we'll have a tea break. So, the arrangement is outside. Thank you. We'll wait for 10 minutes.
Hello. Hello.
লাস্টের বাইকটা ইন্টারেস্টিং